Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Peter Walsh Official, or as my boy Jack would say, wait till they get a load of me. Yeah, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my office is an actual shithole. Like, really, I should just clean this up. I just couldn't be fucking asked. I think I've said this on another podcast before. Like, I know, Ben Shapiro, Rogan, all these guys, Bill Burr, they've got great podcast looks. I really should do something about this. Like, I mean, this just looks amateur fucking hour. Anyway, okay. I'm going to go anyway. Fuck it. So, today, I want to talk about Formula One. And I know many of you out there, both men and women, which is great to see women now watching it because of the Netflix show Drive to Survive. People are obsessed with Formula One now. In fact, I'm not sure. So, guys, I probably repeat myself a hell of a lot. Excuse me, sorry. Probably repeat myself a hell of a lot. But I know that this one girl, she's married to one of my friends. Never liked Formula One ever, and she watched Drive to Survive, the whole series. And I think there's 4 series, guys, now at this stage. And she watches every single Formula One Grand Prix right now. Believe it or not. In fact, she said she is obsessed. I mean, guys, I tell you, 10 years ago, that is some turnaround that women are watching Formula One. It's unreal. It's great. It's fucking great. So today I want to talk about my top picks. Now, as many of you know, I used to be a professional race driver myself. Started off in karting in Ireland. Became an Irish champion several times over. I went to racing cars. I won the Formula Ford 1800cc Benelux Championship, which is the Belgian, Luxembourg, and Dutch championships all put in together. So that was pretty fucking awesome. Amazing times. Went to America to race in Formula 2000. Became the Rookie of the Year Oval champion. And, for me, racing was college, right? Like, if some of you are listening from, excuse me, I'm sorry. If some of you are listening away from outside of Ireland, we call the last year in school, now before you go to college, we call it 6th year. And your final exams are called the Leaving Cert. I don't have a Leaving Cert. No points. We call them because you can get a maximum of 600 points. I think it's still at anyway these days. I don't even have any points. Like, 0. Fucking 0 on the board. Doesn't bother me at all because I went racing. So racing for me was my college. I know Jensen Button very, very well. We were, we kind of grew up in the same categories every now and then. We used to cross paths in different races every now and then. Daniel Weldon, he was an Indy 500 driver. I knew him very well, but he had a huge accident and unfortunately passed away. Knew a few of the others too. So Hamilton, as many of you know, of course, Lewis Hamilton was about 6 years behind me. He actually came to race at the English the Five Nations. Actually, there was a Five Nations karting championship. He actually came to my father's karting track here in Adventure Park in Kart World in Watergrass Hill, Cork, in Ireland. He used to race there. So, excuse me. So a lot of people, you're watching Drive to Survive, and obviously everybody's got a favorite driver. I'm here to tell you the fucking truth. Okay? I am here to tell you the truth. Who is a real good driver and who is not. Okay? Do not be listening to the English fucking commentators. I'm going to say it outright. They're fucking pathetic. Everyone can see through them. That's not from the UK. Everyone can see through. And yet they still fucking do it. Like, believe me, guys, I really, really, truly am a guy that would bat for my country, right? Roy Keane back in the day. Roy Keane, unbelievable. I used to love watching him, and I'm not even a football fan, right? So I love this guy. And I love his professionalism. And I would root for anyone Irish. But these guys just take it on just a pathetic level of bullshit when they speak about the likes of Hamilton, Coulthard, Mansell, Hill. Mansell, probably the best that's come out of there since Jackie Stewart. Probably a lot of you don't know about Jackie Stewart, 3-time world champion Formula 1. Brilliant driver, just so solid, consistent. So solid. Yeah, he was fantastic. Sterling Moss, I think he was probably, for me, either between Jackie Stewart or Sterling Moss. Sterling Moss, his unbelievable car control was insane. It was insane, Sterling Moss. So anyway, let's get to it, okay? I've been going on for 5 minutes already. Fucking hell. So let's look at it. We're gonna go with. We're gonna start off with. Who are we gonna start off with? Lance Stroll. Now, I think a lot of people, they've seen the documentary. Lance is the Canadian F1 driver with the Aston Martin team, and I think most people know that his dad basically bought him into Formula 1. His dad's a billionaire, bought a majority stake in Aston Martin, and brought his son along. Now, some people out there are bitter. Don't get me wrong, guys. I would love to have made it to Formula 1. The problem is, you need a hell of a lot of money. Okay? And I'm not bitter, not jealous about people there. If you're English, if you're a different nationality than Irish, you've got a really good chance because there's a lot of people watching from those countries. It's about ratings. And if people go going, oh yeah, he's just fucking bitter and bullshit, he's full of shit. Well, I don't give a shit what you think because you don't know the game. And it's actually obvious now these days. You have someone like Lance Stroll, his dad's a billionaire, and he got to Formula 1. Nikita Mazepin, a Russian, his dad was a Russian billionaire. His dad paid his way to Formula 1. Like, it's not just a coincidence that their fathers are billionaires, right? Like, it's known on even the series Drive to Survive that they paid their way, right? They paid their way to Formula 1. And guys, quite honestly, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, if my dad was a billionaire back in the day, well, I can be sure as fucking tell you, we would have paid our way to Formula 1 too. With the hope of obviously getting paid as a driver then, at some stage. Right? But to break out and break through, fuck yeah. Wouldn't blame any father. And in fact, if a father turned around and did not support his son, but yet he wanted to go the whole way, well, first of all, his father's in dreamland, and second of all, he's a prick. Because he would have been able to get his son a good shot at it. But, I can tell you this, guys, and a lot of people will say this about Lance Stroll. They'll say, oh, well, he's just only there because of his dad. Well, yes. However, he's actually a really good driver. He's got balls. He's got quite an intelligent head on him. And he's one of these guys that gets more confidence the better he's doing. Right? Like David Coulthard used to be like that too. Coulthard, like if Coulthard got a good car and he got it on the front row, pole position, Coulthard would be one of those guys, and Sebastian Vettel too. They'd be able to gain a certain confidence and be able to just walk away from the crowd, right? Now, that's good, but you got to get there too, So Lance Stroll, he's a really good driver. He stuck it on pole position. I think it was at Turkey in the wet. No easy task. No easy task. And I think his understanding of the balance of a racing car too, what I've heard of him, the way he speaks about the technicality, the technical stuff like aerodynamics, the balance of the ride height versus the shocks, bump and rebound. I'm not going to go too technical, guys, all right? But, what I've heard from him, he seems like he knows what he's fucking talking about. He's not fucking around, I'll put it that way. So I'll put Lance Stroll, would I rate him up at the top? I would not rate him right at the top, but he's up there. Who else do we have? We've got Fernando Alonso. Alonso, my boy. I really rate Alonso. He is a brilliant driver. The way he took on Michael Schumacher. Schumacher had a 5-year winning streak of 5 championships in a row with Ferrari. Alonso was the only guy to take him down. The only guy! And he came along and he won 2 world championships in a row. And let me tell you, that's no easy task. And it's no easy task up against the likes of Schumacher. Right? Let me tell you that. And Schumacher in a Ferrari with Ross Brawn, who was his main head guy. And because I tell you, Ross Brawn and Schumacher together, lethal combination. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So anyway. Just so good. And you know, he had some really impressive overtakes on Schumacher in the 2 years. You know, he showed the balls. He showed the mental toughness about Alonso. That's the real big thing about Fernando Alonso. It's his mental toughness. He doesn't get weak in those scenarios. Now, he may be weak in certain different scenarios, like setting up a car or things like that, but when the pressure's on, Alonso's right there. He is right fucking there, and he will deliver for you. So I would think he is probably, for me, he is the best out there. Now let's get on to Hamilton and Verstappen. Okay, let me tell you something about Lewis Hamilton now. Lewis Hamilton is a really great driver to watch. He's ballsy. Like, he'll go for moves. Like, you know, in fairness, quite a lot of other drivers won't do. Now, chances are it's because the driver's smart, right? Okay? So, like, it's not because Hamilton is so amazingly brilliant. No, Hamilton makes stupid moves up the inside or around the outside. I mean, it's just insanity sometimes. Like, even when he... in 2001, when Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, the opening lap of Silverstone, I mean, that wasn't ballsy. That was kamikaze driving from Lewis Hamilton. And he went into cops at that high speed, and the way he positioned his car, there was no need. There was no need. That was him just getting desperate to win the championship again, desperate to win it in front of his home fans. And believe me, guys, I know this from being a racing driver. Right? We've all had our moments. But Hamilton has quite a lot of these moments. And I mean, let me tell you why I do not rate, and I'm 100% positive on this, Lewis Hamilton is not even in the top 100 drivers of all time. People, if you're listening, you're probably screaming at the fucking podcast now. Who the fuck do you think you are? Well, let me tell you why. Okay? And I'm going to enjoy saying this one. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm staring right in the camera. If or when you do watch, or if you have watched already Drive to Survive, I think now it is in season 2 where it's Mercedes 150th, is it 150th Grand Prix? 150th year? It's 150th anniversary anyway. Pretty sure. Maybe it's 100, but it's one of those, right, where they all dress up in like really old outfits. Okay? Now, some of you, if you've seen that episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's in Hockenheim in Germany. And Hamilton is having an off weekend. And by the way, drivers have fucking off weekends. And Lewis Hamilton will have an off weekend like anybody else. Right? So I'm not slating him here. And it started to get wet in the race. And at one stage, Hamilton was down in 10th. Okay? Now, if you finish 10th, you get 1 point for the championship. All right? Let me repeat that. If you finish 10th, you get 1 point as a driver for going towards the championship at the end of the year. Now, I presume everybody knows this. How do you win the world championships? By gathering the most amount of points and having the most over all the other drivers at the end of the year. Okay? So, this is why Lewis Hamilton is not in the top 100. Because of this. At one stage, he radioed back while he was in 10th position, he radioed back to the pits saying retire the car because his confidence was shattered. Now, I think he had 2 offs or something, or when I say offs, like he went off into the gravel, nearly crashed the car twice in that race. Now, I could be wrong on that, guys, so forgive me on this one. But, he did have 1 off, that's for sure, right? So, and I understand this, right? And I'll even give him this, your confidence can get a bit shaken, or, you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, and because everything's happening so quick in the race that, sometimes it's hard to process it all and get back on the horse. But you do as best as you can, right? And most of us do. So Hamilton radios back. He's having a nightmare, epic meltdowns in his head, and he radios back while he's in 10th, has 1 point to gain. He radios back, retire the car. Let me repeat that for all of you now. Lewis Hamilton, radioed back to the garage to say retire the car. Let me tell you this. No driver worth his salt does that. Okay? Nobody. Because you know what the likes of Ayrton Senna would have done? Ayrton Senna would have bled, would have broken his fucking arm, his fucking leg to have that 1 point, because he would have known how important that 1 point was. The likes of Senna, the likes of Schumacher, these guys would have bled for that 1 point at the end of the year, because they would have known that's the difference between winning and losing at the end of the year. And Lewis Hamilton is crying like a baby saying retire the car. His team had to tell him to stay out. Okay? Now, you have to remember, excuse me, Hamilton did stay out because, well, at the end of the day, Mercedes are his boss. All right? So there's only so much of crap Hamilton can get away with too, even though he is their little superstar. Okay? Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen. Lewis Hamilton is not in the top 100 of all time, because the other 99 are the 100th best ever, would have bled, broken arms, broken legs to get that 1 single point. Even if they thought the car was going to break down while they were in 10th position, right? They would have still gone with the hope that they would finish in 10th, because they never know what could happen at the end of the year. It could be neck on points. It could come down to 1 win, right? Or it could be literally 1 point. So let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that guy gave up. Okay? That is not the fighter attitude. Insanity. And that, for me, I always rated him to a degree, and I still do to a degree here, right? Whereas, I suppose, like I said, he's not in the top 100. He wouldn't even be in the top 200 of all time. And this is not an exaggeration, because all the other guys in the top 200 are up 1 to 99 would have that killer mentality of, I'm going to bleed for that last point. It really, it opened my eyes, because I didn't see that, of course, just watching the normal Formula 1 race. Only until you watch Netflix Drive to Survive do you see what actually happens in the background with some of these drivers and the teams. And it really disappointed me, guys, about Hamilton, because I love watching him, because, he does make those crazy, stupid ass moves, right? So he can be entertaining. Now, let's move on to Verstappen. Verstappen, I like his old school method. His dad is, well, I'm sure some of you have noticed that now, or if you're up to speed on the news. Excuse me, Jos Verstappen, his dad, was an ex-Formula 1 driver. And you can see with Verstappen's dad, Max Verstappen is not in his dad's shadow. Nothing like that. You can just see that, with his dad, winning is just enough, right? He's not getting a fucking 8th place trophy here, right? If it's either winning or nothing, Okay, so you can see that his dad has ingrained him. He's conditioned his mentality, his mind frame, for F1 for the right causes, the right ingredients, right? Verstappen in general, he's not that talented. He's really good. He's ballsy, as I think we all know, right? And I love that about him. He can definitely produce some really good fucking laps, right? He's not Ayrton Senna, Michael Schumacher, Fangio, Sterling Moss level. Not even close. Now, I will say this. It's very hard to gauge these days because the cars are so futuristic, maybe you could say, comparing to even 10 years ago. And, you know, it's hard to gauge exactly, but I can tell. Racing drivers can tell. And, you know, Verstappen has pulled out some great laps, even for pole position, for a couple of race wins. But he bitches and moans quite a lot. And let me tell you guys, any tough, mentally racing driver, real tough, they don't bitch and moan. Right? Like, come on, hurry up, safety car. Fuck's sake. All this fucking bollocks. Right? It's total rubbish. Total rubbish. And what he did at the Brazilian Grand Prix in 2022, when they were trying to get Perez to finish second in the championship, well, so we believe that they wanted him to finish second in the championship, he didn't help him out when Perez helped him out the year before. And all Verstappen said was, oh, I have my reasons. Yeah. Bullshit. And by the way, guys, just to clarify, up to Brazil, Verstappen was my favorite driver. I loved him. Loved watching him. Right? Loved watching him. But after Brazil, you see, even I gave him that 1% benefit of the doubt after the race, because when he said, oh, I have my reasons why I'm not letting him past. First of all, Verstappen wasn't winning the race. As far as I remember, I think he was in 7th. He was not going to win the race. Russell was too fast for him. Perez could gain. Right? Championship was won already by Verstappen. So there was nothing to gain by this. So even at that, because I'm a fan, I said, okay, well, look, hang on a sec. This is bullshit. Verstappen, you're a prick. But unless there's a really, and I mean, guys, it would have to be a life-changing reason, or Perez shot his dog or his mom or father and killed them, then maybe we could understand why he had his reasons. This is the key, why Verstappen is a selfish prick. Because at the end of the race, I went, okay, maybe there's a reason. An unbelievably good reason. Right, let's hear it. Verstappen comes on the TV. Then he says, oh, well, when we get to Abu Dhabi, I have my reasons, but when I get to Abu Dhabi, you know, he's going to try and help him out. So in other words, there's no real reason why he didn't want to help him out. Because if it really was that good, the fact that Perez helped him the year before, he would have fucking helped him in Brazil. And he wasn't going to win the race, so he had every excuse to let Perez go. Like, you couldn't argue. Like, people can't say, well, Peter, he was going to win the race, Verstappen. Well, no, he wasn't. Because Russell was too fast and Verstappen was in, as far as I remember, 7th. Oh, well, Peter, well, let's go to the other reason. Oh, well, Peter, you know, the championship was up for grabs. No, it wasn't. He had the championship already. Done. There was no reason. Oh, well, Peter, Perez didn't help him last year. Actually, Perez did fucking help him last year. It was a horrible, horrible thing. Even as a racing driver, an ex-racing driver, I know this, right? Even if I did this, even if I was in Formula 1 and I was in Verstappen's position, excuse me, I keep burping here, I would have done it even for a selfish reason. Because if I was going into 2023, I would have said to myself, okay, make sure you help Perez now because I might need him next year and I want to keep the team on my good side. Okay? Even if that was me being incredibly fucking selfish and I didn't give a shit about everybody else, I'd still help the guy out. Even for my own selfishness. Right? So let me tell you, make no mistake about it, people. Max Verstappen, he's a prick. And, this is only a couple of weeks ago, and it disappoints me saying this because I loved watching him. He was my favourite. Not anymore. After that, not anymore. And I'm not even a Perez fan. Okay? I'm not even a Perez fan. I don't like him. Excuse me. Sorry, when I say that, I don't like him as a racing driver. He's a nice guy. I think I like him as a human being. He seems like a really nice person. But when it comes to being a race driver, I just don't think he has the aggression. He's got some good races. Could be wrong about Perez, but I just don't see it in him. So yeah, guys, so I'm not even a Perez fan, and I hated the way he treated Perez that weekend. It was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Okay, who else do we have? Sebastian Vettel, 4-time world champion. I'm sorry now, guys. I'm just taking a drink of water here. Yeah, Sebastian Vettel. Vettel is, I think we spoke about him at the start of this podcast, the episode, is that if Vettel gets a lead, he kind of gets a bit more momentum and a little bit more speed, it seems, and he can really take off. But he has to get to that stage. I don't see any brilliance from him. I think he's got a lot of respect for Formula 1 drivers, and I love that about him. I really do. And I think he's the guy's a gentleman. Clearly he's aggressive. Of course he is. You have to be a certain level of aggression, have a level of aggressiveness for a racing driver anyway. Otherwise you're fucked. You're doomed. So that's Vettel. I mean, who else you got there? Pierre Gasly. Jeez, I can't even talk. Pierre Gasly. Gasly's good. Now, by the way, guys, he got fucked over in Red Bull. Okay, let me tell you that. I've seen some real sneaky back-end stuff. They really tried to bully him in Red Bull when he was there. You'll see this in Drive to Survive. Make no mistake about this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a big fan of Pierre Gasly, but I can tell you this for a fact. Red Bull tried to fuck him over, bully him, so then he would make more mistakes. I think he made one mistake every now and then Albon was kind of like secretly going to be bringing some thigh money to the team, and they had to look for an excuse to get rid of Gasly, and they just ruined him. They bullied him, and he just got seriously goddamn fucking bullied. Now you could argue, well, if he was that good, he shouldn't have made the mistakes. Maybe. But make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, Red Bull were out for blood against Gasly. Okay? Out for blood. They wanted to bully him back to Sauber. Alright? It was ridiculous the way they were carrying on with him. George Russell. Forgetting about Georgie boy. He seems like a really good qualifier. A racer, yeah, he's good at keeping his composure. He's got very, very good composure. I don't rate him that well. He was in Williams, yeah, and he was their star guy. But yeah, he was set up to be their star guy in Williams. He seems like a nice guy, but talent-wise, I think he's an excellent qualifier. Right? He needs the car behind him, and I don't think he's going to get you that extra little bit, like a Senna would, Ayrton Senna, or a Hakkinen or a Schumacher, but he's a good qualifier. Give him the car, he's solid. Okay? You'd have a lot of confidence that if his car is capable of putting it on pole position, you'd be very confident that he'd put it on pole position. That he's not going to make a mistake on the last lap, right? I think I would rate him as a qualifier, not a racer. A lot of composure, great composure, and that's what you need to in a racing driver as well. George Russell, he's good, and he seems like a nice guy too. He seems like a really nice guy, And let's be honest, even just to watch, forget about rating them talent-wise, just the likability is nice too, and it's important if you're watching Formula 1 or Drive to Survive. Kevin Magnussen, a very dark horse in Formula 1. That guy is fucking old school, man. Let me tell you. He is old school, tough as fuck, hard as nails, balls the size of the Empire State Building, right? He is a really good driver. Really good. I don't know about his racing intelligence. It's hard to sort of get it because he's just down the back all the fucking time. You know, he barely has enough chances. But he is an old school guy. He's definitely up there. So we're going to go with the top 3 in Formula 1 right now. I'm going to go with Alonso number 1, Magnussen number 2, and who else would I go with? It's a tough one. I suppose I'd go with Verstappen number 3. And there's a bit of a question mark over Verstappen, I have to say. And it's not because of Brazil and how he was a prick. Nope. Verstappen has a little bit of old school in him too. And I think, I could be wrong on this one, but I think, his dad bred that into him. Yeah, Alonso number 1, Magnussen number 2, Verstappen number 3. And, and I would put Alonso in the top 20 of all time. Magnussen, no. Verstappen, no. But Alonso in the top 20 of all time. Hard to know where I'd put him. Oh, I haven't even thought of this. But yeah, I would, Fernando Alonso, definitely top 20. No doubt about it. So guys, listen, I've been going on for half an hour here. I thought it was going to be a fast podcast, I'll be honest with you. Guys, listen, listen, I would definitely, before I go, definitely tune into Drive to Survive, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, especially for the ladies out there. In fact, this is no joke. This is no joke when I say this. And by the way, I'm not getting sponsored by Netflix. I'm not getting paid by them to say all this, okay? No jokes about this. It actually seems that women like Drive to Survive more than guys. The feedback that I'm getting from people, like, don't get me wrong, loads of guys, they love it. They think it's really fascinating, entertaining. But the women see the way the team owners are such a pack of bitches. And by the way, this is in real life. You wouldn't believe the amount of bitching, moaning, two-faced crap that happens in motor racing, ladies and gentlemen. You wouldn't believe it. So everything that you see of Christian Horner, Gunther from Haas, all these, like, just 1 minute they're saying this and then 5 minutes later they're saying the complete opposite. This is all true. It's all true. This happens all the time in racing. So, yeah, guys, definitely go watch Drive to Survive on Netflix. It's worth every minute watching. So, guys, yeah, I'll be back with the podcast soon. And love you all, guys. Thank you for watching. Godspeed to all of you. And see you again.